The unlikely bond. The mining station Epsilon 7 hung in the void like a metallic spider, its legs extended deep into the asteroid's core. For 3 standard years, it had been Kira 9's home, workplace, and prison all at once. The young Velani engineer had volunteered for the assignment, desperate to prove herself worthy of the prestigious positions back on the homeworld. What she hadn't expected was the crushing loneliness of working alongside species who viewed her crystalline exoskeleton and multiple arms with barely concealed distrust. The Velani were newcomers to the Galactic Trade Consortium, their silicon-based biology and hive-like social structure making them objects of curiosity and suspicion. Most other species couldn't understand how the Velani could share thoughts and emotions through bioelectric fields, or why they needed to return to their birth hives every few cycles to maintain their mental stability. To them, Kira's people were strange, potentially dangerous, and definitely alien. That morning started like any other. Kira performed her routine maintenance checks on the primary fusion reactor, her 4 arms working in perfect coordination, while her compound eyes monitored 17 different readouts simultaneously. The humans on the station nodded politely when they passed her in the corridors, but they kept their distance. She had learned not to expect more. The explosion came without warning. One moment, Kira was calibrating the magnetic containment field, and the next, she was thrown against the reactor housing as emergency klaxons shrieked throughout the station. Sparks showered from damaged control panels while the lights flickered between standard illumination and the blood red of emergency power. Through the chaos, Kira heard the most terrifying sound in any space installation, the whistle of escaping atmosphere. Her training kicked in immediately. The reactor room was sealed automatically during emergencies, but if the containment field failed completely, the resulting explosion would vaporize half the asteroid. Kira's 4 hands flew across the control interfaces, rerouting power and manually adjusting field harmonics while her mind calculated the rapidly decreasing odds of survival. The reactor was going critical, and she was trapped. That's when she heard the banging on the sealed blast door. Through the reinforced transparent aluminum, she could see 3 figures in emergency suits working frantically with cutting torches. Humans. They were trying to reach her, even though the logical choice would be to evacuate to minimum safe distance and write off both the reactor room and its occupant. "Stay back from the door." The voice crackled through her emergency communicator. "We're coming for you." Kira felt something she had never experienced before, a warm sensation that her people had no word for, but which humans called hope. These beings, who barely knew her, who had no obligation to risk their lives, were trying to save her. It made no sense according to any social or economic model she understood. The cutting took precious minutes they didn't have. Kira watched the reactor readings climb toward cascade failure while sweat beaded on her crystalline skin. Her bioelectric field, normally a gentle hum of calm efficiency, spiked with fear and desperate concentration as she performed miracle after miracle to keep the fusion reaction stable. When the blast door finally fell away, 3 humans in emergency suits rushed in without hesitation. The leader, whose name Pax read CHEN, took one look at the situation and began issuing rapid orders. "Rodriguez, get those backup containment coils online. Martinez, help our friend here with whatever she needs." Chief Engineer Chen moved with the confidence of someone who had faced death before and refused to be intimidated. "We're all getting out of this together, or not at all." Kira stared at him in amazement. By staying to help her, these humans had trapped themselves as well. The reactor room's blast door couldn't be reopened until the magnetic bottle was stable, and every second they delayed decreased their chances of survival. "Why?" she asked, her translator converting the bioelectric pulse into audible speech. "You could have evacuated. Your safety protocols clearly state." "Safety protocols don't account for leaving crew behind," Chen interrupted, his hand steady as he helped her route power through backup systems. "You're part of this station, part of this crew. That makes you family." The word hit Kira like a physical force. Family. In Velani society, Family meant your birth hive, the hundreds of siblings who shared your genetic pattern and mental resonance. It was a biological fact, not a choice. But these humans were using the term for someone they had known for mere cycles, someone who wasn't even the same species. Working together, the four of them managed to stabilize the reactor with less than 30 seconds to spare. As the emergency lights shifted back to normal illumination and the atmosphere recyclers hummed back to life, Kira found herself surrounded by three humans who were grinning at her with expressions of relief and something else she was learning to recognize: genuine affection. Over the following days, as station repairs continued, Kira discovered what it meant to be considered family by humans. Engineer Martinez brought her specially prepared nutrient solutions that were compatible with her silicon-based metabolism. Rodriguez shared stories about his childhood on Earth, asking about her own experiences growing up in the crystal caves of Velanus Prime. Chief Chen included her in decision-making processes that went well beyond her official duties, seeking her input on everything from duty rotations to recreational activities. Most surprisingly, they seemed genuinely interested in her thoughts and feelings as an individual, not just as a representative of her species. They asked about her dreams, her fears, her hopes for the future. They shared their own in return, creating bonds that transcended the normal professional relationships between crew members. It was during one of these conversations, 3 weeks after the reactor incident, that Kira received the message that changed everything. The bioelectric pulse arrived through the long-range communications array, carrying news from her homeworld that made her crystalline exoskeleton dim with despair. The Dominion Empire had issued an ultimatum to the Vellani Collective: submit to incorporation as a subject species or face complete orbital bombardment. The Vellani had 7 standard days to decide. Kira's people were pacifists by nature and philosophy. Their entire civilization was built around harmony, cooperation, and the sharing of knowledge. They had no warships, no weapons capable of planetary defense, no military traditions to fall back on. Against the Dominion's battle fleets, they would last less than an hour. What's wrong? Chen found her in the observation deck, staring out at the stars with her bioelectric field pulsing in patterns of distress. You look like someone just told you the reactor's going critical again. Through her translator, Kira explained the situation. She told him about the Dominion Empire's expansion policies, their habit of enslaving or exterminating species that refused to submit. She described her homeworld's defenseless state, the millions of Vellani who would die if they chose resistance over submission. The logical choice is clear, she concluded, her voice carrying the flat tones of resigned despair. My people will submit. We will become servants to preserve our lives. It is the rational decision. Chen was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice carried an edge that Kira had only heard once before, during the reactor emergency. What if there was another option? There is no other option. The Galactic Trade Consortium has strict non-interference policies. No member species will risk war with the Dominion Empire over one small, newly joined world. The mathematics are clear. Kira, Chen said, placing a hand gently on her shoulder, you're thinking like a bureaucrat instead of thinking like family. Family doesn't abandon family, regardless of the odds. That night, Kira found herself in the station's main conference room, surrounded by the entire human crew. Chief Engineer Chen had called an emergency meeting, and the topic of discussion was treason. What we're talking about goes against direct orders from Earth Command, Chen explained to the assembled group. The official position is neutrality. We're not supposed to get involved in Dominion expansion activities. Screw official positions, Martine said bluntly. Kira's one of us. You don't let family get slaughtered while you hide behind regulations. Rodriguez nodded agreement. My grandmother used to say that when someone shows you who they really are, you believe them. The Dominion has shown us exactly who they are. Time we showed them what humans do when they threaten our people. Captain Sarah Foster, the station commander, had been silent throughout the discussion. Finally, she spoke, her voice carrying the weight of command decisions that could cost careers and lives. The Vellani homeworld is 12 days' travel from the nearest human naval base, even if we could convince Earth Command to intervene, which we can't. Any relief force would arrive too late to matter. So we go ourselves, Chen said simply. We're a mining station crew, not a military unit. We have 3 cargo shuttles and a maintenance frigate. The Dominion task force includes 2 heavy cruisers and a dozen escort vessels. Captain, Kira interjected, her bioelectric field pulsing with desperate hope. My people have something the Dominion wants very badly. Our bioelectric communication technology could revolutionize their military coordination systems. That's why they're demanding submission rather than simply destroying us. If they believe that technology might be lost. Foster raised an eyebrow. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? The Vellani Collective's central data cores are located in the crystal caves beneath our primary city. If those caves were to collapse during an orbital bombardment, Kira's translator struggled to convey the mixture of determination and terror in her bioelectric pulse. The Dominion would lose their primary objective, and your people would die, Martins pointed out gently. Some of them, yes, but not all. And those who survived would remain free. Kira's compound eyes met each human gaze in turn. I cannot ask this of you. The risks are enormous, and I am only one individual among billions. Logic dictates. Logic can kiss my ass, Rodriguez said cheerfully. Family takes care of family. That's not logic, it's love. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. What they were discussing wasn't just career suicide. It was actual suicide. Even if they somehow managed to reach Velanus Prime before the Dominion deadline, they would be facing impossible odds with inadequate equipment and no official support. Captain Foster looked around the room, studying each face carefully. I want everyone to understand what we're talking about here. This isn't a sanctioned mission. Earth Command will disavow us completely. If we're captured, we'll be treated as pirates and terrorists. If we die, our families will be told we died in an industrial accident. Respectfully, Captain, Chief Chen said quietly, some things are more important than following orders. Some principles are worth dying for. One by one, every human in the room nodded agreement. They were choosing to risk everything for someone who wasn't even their species, someone they had known for less than a year. They were choosing to throw away their careers, their futures, possibly their lives, for a chance to save a world full of people they had never met. As the meeting broke up and the crew began planning their impossible mission, Kira felt her bioelectric field humming with an emotion her people had no name for. It was bigger than gratitude, deeper than friendship, stronger than any bond she had ever experienced. It was the warm, fierce, protective love that humans call family. For the first time in her life, Kira truly understood what it meant to belong somewhere. And now she was about to discover what humans would do to protect that belonging. Family means everything. The journey to Velanus Prime took 11 days during which the human crew of Epsilon 7 transformed their mining station into something that barely resembled a warship. They stripped out non-essential equipment, rerouted power systems, and jury-rigged weapons from industrial mining lasers and magnetic accelerators designed for moving asteroids. Kira watched them work with growing amazement. These humans had no formal military training, no experience in space combat, no understanding of Dominion tactical doctrine. What they had was something far more dangerous: absolute determination, and the kind of creative problem-solving that came from years of keeping obsolete equipment functional through sheer stubborn ingenuity. The good news, Chief Engineer Chen announced during their final strategy meeting, is that we've managed to increase our firepower by roughly 300%. The bad news is that we're still outgunned about 50-1. Those are terrible odds, Captain Foster observed. Yeah, but they're better than 0-1, which is what Kira's people are facing, Rodriguez pointed out. Besides, we're not trying to win a stand-up fight. We just need to buy time and create enough chaos for the evacuation to work. The plan was insane, which made it perfect. Instead of engaging the Dominion fleet directly, they would strike at the Empire's coordination and communication systems. The Dominion relied heavily on centralized command structures, with individual ship captains having little tactical flexibility. Disrupt their communications network, and the entire task force would be paralyzed. Kira had provided detailed information about Dominion ship designs and standard formations. More importantly, she had given them something the Empire would never expect: complete technical specifications for Galani bioelectric communication systems. The humans planned to use those specifications to create a jamming field that would interfere with Dominion neural implants. It should cause severe disorientation and temporary paralysis in most humanoid species, Kira explained. But the effect is species-specific. It won't affect humans at all. Convenient, Martins grinned. Almost like you designed it that way. I did, Kira admitted. 3 days ago, when I realized what you were planning to do for my people. The original system wouldn't have worked on Dominion biology, but this modified version should. The silence that followed was profound. The humans stared at her with expressions of surprise, admiration, and something that looked suspiciously like pride. You've been planning to fight back all along, Captain Foster said finally. I've been learning from my family, Kira replied simply. You taught me that some things are worth fighting for, even when the odds seem impossible. They dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Velanus system, with 6 hours remaining until the Dominion ultimatum expired. Long-range sensors immediately detected the enemy fleet. 23 vessels arranged in standard blockade formation around the blue-green world that was Kira's home. Holy shit, Martins whispered. That's not a task force. That's an invasion armada. The Dominion had brought enough firepower to reduce the planet's surface to molten slag. They weren't just planning to accept surrender. They were prepared to make an example that would terrify any other species considering resistance. Broadcasting on all frequencies, Communications Officer Taylor announced, "This is Captain Foster of the mining vessel Epsilon 7. We demand immediate withdrawal from Velani space and recognition of their sovereignty under Galactic Trade Consortium law." The response came within minutes. The voice that filled their bridge belonged to Admiral Koreth, whose reputation for brutality was legendary even among the Dominion's officer corps. Unknown vessel, you are in violation of Imperial decree and interfering with lawful subjugation protocols. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Counteroffer, Foster replied calmly. You withdraw immediately, or we make you regret ever coming here. The laughter that echoed through their communication system was like broken glass. You dare threaten the Dominion Empire with a single mining vessel. Your courage is admirable, but suicidal. I will give you one opportunity to surrender. After that, your destruction will serve as an object lesson. Admiral, Foster said, her voice carrying a new edge that made Kira's bioelectric field hum with recognition. You made a critical error in your intelligence gathering. You assumed we were here to surrender. That's when the first phase of their plan began. The modified mining lasers, designed to cut through asteroid cores, proved remarkably effective at slicing through Dominion communication arrays. Epsilon 7 moved through the enemy formation like a ghost, appearing just long enough to cripple a ship's sensors and communications before vanishing back into the sensor shadows created by the planet's magnetic field. But it was the bioelectric jamming system that truly changed the balance of power. As the modified Velani technology activated, Dominion crew members throughout the fleet found themselves overwhelmed by neural feedback that left them temporarily paralyzed and violently nauseous. Ship after ship reported complete loss of coordination as their crews collapsed at their stations. What is happening? Admiral Koreth's voice crackled through the static-filled communications. Report. All ships report. The only response was chaos. Without their central coordination network, the Dominion fleet found itself blind, deaf, and helpless. Individual ship captains, trained to follow orders rather than think independently, had no idea how to respond to the unprecedented attack. That's when the second phase began. Captain Foster had sent a message to Earth Command before leaving the mining station, a message that officially requested immediate military assistance for the Villani homeworld. The message had been denied, as expected, but it had also triggered something Foster was counting on: bureaucratic procedure. When faced with a potential diplomatic incident involving the Dominion Empire, Earth Command had quietly repositioned naval assets just in case. The Third Fleet was officially conducting routine training exercises in a nearby system, but they were close enough to respond if the situation changed. The situation had definitely changed. "Hyperspace signatures detected," Taylor announced, his voice tight with excitement. "Multiple contacts dropping out of FTL. Configuration suggests, Jesus, it's the entire Third Fleet." Admiral Harrison of the Human Navy had received an interesting communication from Mining Station Epsilon 7. It contained detailed intelligence about Dominion fleet positions, complete technical specifications for their jamming technology, and a formal request for assistance from the sovereign government of Velanus Prime. More importantly, it contained footage of Dominion forces threatening to commit genocide against a defenseless population. The Admiral was a career military officer who understood politics, but he was also a human being who understood right from wrong. Sometimes, he had decided, doing the right thing was more important than following orders. "This is Admiral Harrison of the Human Third Fleet." His voice boomed across all frequencies. "All Dominion vessels will cease hostile activities immediately and withdraw from Villani space. Any attempt to harm civilian populations will be considered an act of war against the Galactic Trade Consortium." Admiral Korath's response was predictably aggressive. "The Dominion Empire does not recognize human authority in this sector. These proceedings are internal Imperial business." "Admiral Korath," Harrison replied, his tone conversational, "I've been reviewing your service record. Quite impressive, really. 17 successful subjugation campaigns, over 40 worlds brought under Imperial control. You have a reputation for efficiency. What is your point, human?" "My point is that you're about to discover why humans don't have a reputation for efficiency. We have a reputation for being absolutely, unreasonably, impossibly stubborn when someone threatens our family." The battle that followed lasted exactly 47 minutes. It wasn't really a battle at all. It was a demonstration. The Human Third Fleet had been designed to fight other advanced military forces in conventional space warfare. Against a paralyzed and disorganized enemy fleet, they were devastatingly effective. But it was the mining station Epsilon 7 that delivered the final blow. As Dominion forces tried to retreat, Chief Engineer Chen activated the station's most powerful mining laser, the one designed to cut through planetary cores. The beam lanced across space and struck Admiral Korath's flagship directly in the reactor housing. The explosion lit up the Villani sky like a second sun. In the aftermath, as Dominion survivors were taken into custody and the threat to Velanus Prime ended, Kira found herself in the station's observation deck once again. This time, she wasn't alone. The entire human crew had gathered to watch the sunrise over her homeworld, a sunrise that almost hadn't happened. "The Collective Council wants to offer you all full citizenship," she told them, her bioelectric field humming with gratitude and joy. "Honorary membership in the highest birth hive, with all the privileges and responsibilities that implies." "That's quite an honor," Captain Foster said. "But we're already citizens of somewhere important." "Where?" Foster smiled, the same warm expression that had first shown Kira what human family meant. "We're citizens of the human race, which means we're citizens of anywhere family needs help." Chief Engineer Chen nodded agreement. "Besides, we got a mining station to run. Can't abandon our day jobs just because we accidentally started an interstellar war." As the human crew laughed and began planning their return to normal duties, Kira realized that she finally understood the secret of human strength. It wasn't their technology, their military might, or their tactical brilliance. It was their absolute refusal to abandon anyone they considered family, regardless of species, origin, or the odds against success. The galaxy would learn that lesson in the months to come, as word spread about what had happened at Velenus Prime. Other species began to understand that earning human friendship meant something far beyond simple diplomatic relations. It meant becoming part of something larger and more powerful than any empire. It meant becoming part of the human definition of family. And once humans decided you were family, they would move planets to protect you. 3 months later, when the Dominion Empire sent a formal declaration of war to Earth Command, the response was swift and unanimous. Every human world, every human fleet, every human citizen stood ready to defend not just their own territories, but every species that had earned the title that mattered most to them: family. The Dominion discovered, much too late, that some titles are more dangerous than any weapon ever forged. End of story.